Peace. Welcome to Vlogmas with Queen Elle. So if you have not seen my previous videos about understanding the planets or the houses, I will link them here so that you can view those videos just to learn more about the energy that the planets exude and that we glean from the planets, as well as what the houses are representative of in our natal charts. Now let's talk about the quadrants and hemispheres. So this is going to be a quick video. Now, I am also going to include, what am I doing in this video? It might be a separate video because I'm trying not to. Yes, my little one is putting his shoes on. So I'm trying not to make videos that are too long because I also want to include some information with regard to what's going on with the planets today. So this is December 10th when I'm filming this video, and I hope to post it by tomorrow, December 11th. With regard to the quadrants, if you liken a natal chart wheel to a pie or to a clock, then you can cut it into 4 quadrants or quarters of the chart. And the houses start at the 9 o'clock point, which is the cusp or beginning of the first house. And then it goes counterclockwise around till we get to the 12th house, which is right above the first house. So I'm going to also put like a little picture here, an image, so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the first quadrant is houses 1 through 3. The second quadrant is houses 4 through 6. Then 7 through 9 make up the third quadrant, and 10 through 12 make up the fourth quadrant. So the first quadrant is your self-development. It is representing you internally and the nuance to you, your values, your self-confidence, how you like to express yourself. Those are all aspects of you that make you who you are. And the natal chart wheel represents puzzle pieces to who you are, but the first 3 houses are truly internal, self-focused houses. They represent who you are when you define yourself, when you describe yourself to someone, your values, your perspective. Houses 1 through 3 really encompass that. So houses 4 through 6 are also internal houses, but they represent who you are as it relates to your dealings with other people. So house 4 representing the family life, your home life, your upbringing, your roots. It has everything to do with epigenetics and the home that you grew up with and the people you grew up around, your environment that shaped and molded your childhood. And whether or not you have departed from what you were raised in and around those traditions or not, but it has to do with that. The 5th house is representing our creativity and childlike energy, also our parenting style, and the love and romance area. So that quadrant, it still feeds into our dealings with others that shape and mold us. And then the 6th house is the house of health and service, yes, but it has to do with how we show up in community, how we show up in service. So those houses, while the way that we manage those houses and that energy is internal, it is based off of the experiences that we've had with others. Then we move on to the 3rd quadrant. And these last houses, the last half or hemisphere of our natal chart, it is truly external. So houses 7 through 9 have to do with truly the experiences that have affected us the most, the people who have affected us, those relationships with people. The 7th house representing long-term relationships in marriage and partnership. The 8th house representing end-of-life matters, but the inheritance factor is dealings with other people, as well as how we view our purpose and what it all means, and our theories, conspiracy theories, our spirituality. That has to do with our dealings, our interactions with other people, and we are affected by what our experiences are. And then the ninth house represents our journey. So even though it's travel, it's higher learning, it's open-mindedness, it's our perspective, but it also has everything to do with our experiences again, because of the people we interact with or not, who are of different cultures and different thought systems, and also just our life experiences, because it has everything to do with our journey. And then the 10th house through the 12th house, those are back to being somewhat internally focused, but it's our outer representation of what is going on inside of us. So the 10th house, that's a public facing house. It has everything to do with career, but mostly ambition, our goals, what we want to do outside of ourselves. So not just how we show up in the world, like the 6th house, that's a service minded energy. The 10th house is how we show up in a way that benefits us based off of what we desire for ourselves, what we aspire to become. And so that's why it's forward facing, and it's something that is an outer focus, but it's really propelling us forward and ahead and upward and onward, especially because the cusp of the 10th house is the midheaven, which is the peak or height of our success, whatever we view success as in our lives. And that is personal, but it's a truly outer expression of how we feel about that. The 11th house is our community house. It has everything to do with interpersonal relationships and how we view community. So it really is about our friendships and social connections, activism, humanitarian efforts, all of those things that we do those types of things or not based off of our beliefs and what we desire inside of us, but they are outer representations of how we feel on the inside about that, because it takes action to enact, to engage with others with regard to that house. Then we have the 12th house, and the 12th house is all about mental stability in our subconscious mind, and more with spirituality, where the 8th house has to do with our spiritual beliefs. The 12th house is about spiritual studies, and it still is, even though it's all about the mind, it still is an outer expression of what's going on in our mind. So whether we are a truly private individual and we like to retreat into our mind, into our thoughts, and have moments of solitude and sometimes isolation or not, it is an expression. Those houses 7 through 12, they are an expression of what's going on inside of us. So where houses 10 through 12, it's an expression of our desires and how we feel about things, how we view things. Houses 7 through 9 are literally our interpersonal reactions to people that we encounter along the way. So now we move on to the hemispheres, and it's going to make it all make sense, okay? The first hemisphere, which is houses 1 through 6, it's the lower or bottom hemisphere of the chart. That hemisphere is more of the introverted, internal focused energy, because it has all the components of what's going on inside of us, our own development, our own growth in our journey. Not to be mistaken for the ninth house energy, which is a physical journey. Houses 1 through 6, it's an internal journey, and you can liken it to the beginning of your life, the evolution of your life. And then houses 7 through 12, that's the external focus energy. It's the culmination of all of the development that has taken place from houses 1 through 6. 7 through 12 is that external representation of what has transpired between houses 1 through 6. So when you're looking at your natal chart, if you have the majority of your planets and asteroids and luminaries, the sun and moon, in houses 1 through 6, that lower hemisphere, then you are typically a more introverted person. If you have most of your planets and luminaries and asteroids in the upper hemisphere of your chart, houses 7 through 12, then you're typically a more extroverted person. And this is what comes naturally to you. By circumstance, by personal preference, we may switch from one to the other at different times depending on who we're around, or we may just prefer to be one over the other, and that may contradict what is in your natal chart. The natal chart shows what's innate to you. It shows what comes naturally to you. Now, whether we lean into what comes natural to us or we go against it, that's, dependent on the individual. But this is what comes most naturally to you. And then, just like we have the upper and lower hemisphere, if we look at the left versus the right hemisphere of the chart, the left hemisphere of the chart would be houses 1 through 3 and then 10 through 12. So that whole left side of the midheaven and IC axis, that means that you are more affected by what's going on inside of you, your internal motivations. Because remember, quadrant 1 represents the your self-development. It represents your values. It represents how you express yourself. And the fourth quadrant represents your goals and ambitions. So these are things that are self-motivated, and you're mostly affected and impacted throughout your life by things that are occurring within. Likewise, if you have most of your planet energy, luminary, etc., on the right hemisphere of the chart, and so that's the second and third quadrant, houses 4 through 9, then you are more affected and impacted by things that are happening to you. Your external conflict, external dealings with other people. So remember, like I said, the second quadrant, 4 through 6 houses, having to do with, even though it's internally motivated, it has to do with our experiences, our life experiences with regard to our childhood and onward through adulthood. And then that third quadrant having to do with relationships and who we encounter along our journey. So again, if you have most of your energy in the right hemisphere of your chart, then you are more affected by your dealings with others and by external factors. So let me know if you have any questions about that, and I'll be in touch with more information. Peace.